What's good, everybody? Valley here once again. Welcome back to This Is Not the Workbench. This is the cover of one of my flight cases for my DJ equipment. But yeah, my workbench is too dirty to really ever have anything on it right now because I'm working on a few things and trying to get things done. And I'm trying to get myself out of this sort of depressive hiatus, so yes. But I've got this thing. This is a case that was sent to me courtesy of Enoch, which, you know, if you're familiar with Psych, you know he's a friend of his as well, and he helps me get stuff. This is quite neat. I'm just going to open the case, and yes, one of the clasps is broken. That is my own fault. I dropped the case, and one of the plastic tabs broke. This is only a cheaper case, but it's still really nice for what it is. Ignore the cat hair, but this is the QK4WD. It is a small little flywheel pistol. You can see there's some darts that are missing there. But it is a 4 flywheel pistol that is made to take proprietary mags and such with a built-in battery. And this is your charger. The way you charge it is there's a port on front, and you just simply plug this into any USB socket or USB charger, as long as it provides the kind of 5 volts, 1 amp thing. So that is very, very neat that you can just charge this off the wall, similar to the Rival rechargeable back. You also get a nice sort of pair of, I'm not sure if these are polycarbonate, but these are some nice safety glasses. These are slightly scratched up because they got knocked on the floor by my cats, but it is still very nice. They are comfortable, and they are, you know, they are quite okay for safety glasses. They're fine for Nerf, at least. And it's nice that you get a set of them like this. You also get some spare hardware, some spare rubber bands and stuff, which we will get to in a minute, as well as a Allen key and a screwdriver, so you can disassemble this and, say, replace something or fix it if something goes wrong. You've got some FVJs that are cut down, which I would not recommend using these over here in the States, but, you know, over in China and such, they are a little bit more prevalent, so. These are the ammo it's designed for. It's just a cut down elite style FVJ with flat tip. These will hurt out of anything else, but we'll get to that. You got your extended magazine, which these things are very, very interestingly engineered. They use rubber bands and 5 bearings for the follower, as well as being a closed top system. But the fact that it is so over-engineered does make it a little more expensive than, say, a Katana clone or whatever that we've printed using just a drum spring that slides up and down. This is very smooth, but again, more points of failure, but it hasn't failed on me yet. And yes, this thing I believe holds 12 shots. I will need to measure that in a little while. And you get the blaster itself, which is a nice big blocky pistol, which has a nice comfy grip. Yeah, fine for ambidextrous, other than the mag release being, you know, on the one side. And it is a button, and due to the design of the magazines, they actually eject themselves, so you don't really have to gravity drop. You can just kind of pop it out and it'll slide out on its own. I'll set that off to the side. You got a nice little star motif with some lines on the grip, and the grip is comfy. The trigger is more of a ring, and you can hear the switch going there. And you do have a semi blowback with the slide, but that is actually part of the firing mechanism because the pusher here is spring-loaded to push down. What that does is it lets darts slide underneath it whenever you're done firing, because when you pull the trigger, you're actually pulling the whole slide back. And at the end of the pull, it slips over a little notch and actually pushes forward, similar to, I believe Heath Hales got a design that's similar to this right now that he's working on, but that is a really neat thing. But it does suffer the same issue as the Savage Spin, where if you don't let the trigger return fully every time, you're not going to be pushing darts. You will rev the wheels, but you're not going to be pushing any darts. So you need to make sure that you kind of make sure your finger goes forward all the way every time. But seeing this is more of a sidearm type thing, yeah. On the bottom, you got an N-Strike style rail, which is a little bit short to have anything on there. I mean, you could probably put a flashlight attachment, and that's about it on there. On the front, you've got your charging port, which he actually has labeled right there. I do not like the fact that the contacts are open. A 3D printed plug or something just to cover that would be good, just to kind of block that off and everything, keep any dirt from getting in there, water, whatever. And, you know, to charge, you just plug it in, and it will only go in one way. You can see here is the wrong way. You just need to plug it like that. And there will be a light in the little charging attachment here that will be red and then go green once it's done charging. Took a few hours to charge the battery fully, and yes. On the back here, you have your power switch, which is nice that you have a full cutoff with a voltmeter. This has a 2S LiPo built in. At least I'm pretty sure it's a LiPo. And that is quite handy. And you get it's nice white and gray, you know. Simple, but there you go. The sound is a little bit anemic for my liking because he's using smaller cans similar to stock Nerf style ones, which are smaller, not even 130 size. So the power is a little bit limited, and I'll get to that, and I'll have a few suggestions on how to fix that at the end of the video. But yes, there are two sets of flywheels which are made out of, they're just round stock Delrin with the whole machine down the center. They're not FTW wheels or anything, they're not any sort of clone, and the spacing and such reflects that. I will get a magazine here, and it's okay, like it's not the best to sort of load the mag up, but you can do it. You just kind of push the tip down a little bit, and there you go. And just slide it on in. And I will power up my chronograph right here. And I will take a few shots with the QK4WD. Oh, that hit the rim there. So I will load that back up. Put it in there. And there you go. And we will take a shot in here. 72. 65. 70. And yeah, like the performance is not the greatest for what I'd expect for something that has four sets of wheels as well as 4 motors. And that is the biggest crux of this thing, is the fact that the performance is a bit lacking. I think that putting some nice motors, something like a revamp, would help performance a little bit, but the biggest thing that prevents this thing from hitting as hard as it really should for a 2-cage thing is the fact that the spacing is so wide. And I know why they made the cage so wide is because they use FVJs over in China and stuff. So that does limit things slightly. The best thing I would say for this would be to redesign the cage so it's a little more narrow, but then you do have to redesign the trigger to have a narrower gap down the middle because of the way the whole trigger slides in between the cage here. You can see there's a small gap in between the wheel motors and such, and you'd really have to squeeze more out of this. Like, it would be a very, very tight thing to try to redesign something that's able to take 4 of our 130 size motors, as opposed to the, I'm not even sure what they would be. I mean, they're 130 size, but they are shorter than the motors that we currently use in the hobby. They are similar to the old school, say, Tamiya Light Dash with the connectors on the side and such. And yeah, that does limit options somewhat. It is good for CQB games though, which is quite nice. So, as a sort of minimum engagement distance, you know, stock, it fires about stock. So it hits about as hard as, say, a strong arm or something, but you know, it's rechargeable. It uses short darts, you got your magazines, and it even came with this short dart cutter with 10 dart slots, which this cutter actually cuts them slightly shorter than I'd like. Worker darts are slightly longer, but this one cuts them slightly shorter. It is put together quite nicely. You've got your 10 slots there, you stick your darts in there, and then you just slide a razor in between these slots here, and it'll cut them, and then you just push them out, and there you go. It's quite handy, but you know, they are slightly shorter, so that will affect certain things, which I believe the slightly longer darts the workers are are slightly more accurate, but I do not believe they will work that well in these mags, which they will drag a little bit in my experience on the front here where it is slightly angled. So there is that, but regardless, I still think it's okay. It just needs a little bit of love to get the sort of American specs that we expect for something like this. And I will have a link down to, I believe it's a Taobao page, where you can get this if you're interested in this. And in the future, I may consider overvolting this and turning it into a 3S monstrosity with the built-in lipo and all that. So there is that. And I'll probably paint it, or I'll just, sell it to someone who wants it, because this thing would be quite decent for a little kid who wants to use short darts. I mean, it doesn't hit that hard, but if it's a little kid that you're dealing with, you don't want them firing something that hits really, really hard, because they won't really expect it or really respect the power of, say, a Super 100 blaster, 100 FPS blaster will hit. So there is that. Again, I'll put links down below where you can get this thing. Big thanks to Enoch for getting me in touch with QK4WD, who, I believe it's QK is his name, and he did sponsor this to me through Enoch, so I thank Enoch for getting me in touch with him to really get me to take a look at this. And as ever, my name is Valor. Thanks for watching.